Hi, this is Jaya. In this video, we shall see the summary of Persuasion, a novel by Jane Austen. Persuasion is the last novel of Jane Austen and was published on 20th December 1817 along with Northanger Abbey 6 months after her death. Persuasion is said to be the last completed work of her, and it has been the subject of several adaptations, including 4 made for television adaptations, theatre productions, radio broadcast, and other literary works. The story actually begins 7 years after the broken engagement of Annie Elliot to Frederick Wentworth. Having just turned 19 years old, Annie fell in love and had accepted a proposal of marriage from Wentworth, then a young and undistinguished naval officer. Wentworth was considered clever, confident, and ambitious, but his low social status and lack of wealth made Annie's friends and family view him as an unsuitable partner. Annie's father, Sir Walter Elliot, and her older sister Elizabeth maintained that Wentworth was no match for a woman of Clench Hall, the family estate. Furthermore, Lady Russell, a distant relative whom Anne considered to be a second mother to her after her mother died, also saw the relationship as imprudent for one so young and persuaded Anne to break off the engagement. Sir Walter, Elizabeth, and Lady Russell are the only family members who knew about the short engagement, as Annie's sister Mary was away at school. Several years later, the Elliot family are in financial trouble on account of Sir Walter's lavish spending. So they decide to rent out Clench Hall and move to a cheaper home in Bath until their finances improve. Anne doubts she will enjoy Bath but cannot go against her family. Mary is now married to Charles Musgrove of Upper Cross Hall, the heir to a respectful local square. Anne visits Mary and her family, where she is well loved. As the Napoleonic Wars are over, Admiral Croft and his wife Sophia, Frederick's sister, have become the new tenants of Clench Hall. Captain Wentworth, now wealthy from his service in the war, visits his sister and meets the Upper Cross family, where he crosses paths with Anne. The Musgroves, including Mary, Charles, and Charles's sister Henrietta and Louisa, welcome the Crofts and Captain Wentworth, who makes it known that he is ready to marry. Both the Crofts and the Musgroves enjoy speculating about which sister Captain Wentworth might marry. The Musgroves' cousin, the young clergyman Charles Hayter, who is absent when Wentworth is introduced to the social circle, returns and is rather upset over Henrietta's apparent interest in Wentworth. However, when Charles Hayter stops visiting so often, Henrietta realizes where her true affection lie, and now it seems that a match between Louisa and Wentworth will soon follow. Anne still loves Wentworth, so each meeting with him requires preparation for her strong emotions. She overhears a conversation in which Louisa tells Wentworth that before marrying Mary, Charles Musgrove must first propose to Anne, who turned him down. This news startles Wentworth, and Anne realizes that he has not yet forgiven her for letting herself be persuaded to end the engagement years ago. Anne and the young adults of the Upper Cross family accompany Captain Wentworth on a visit to see two of his fellow officers, Captains Harville and Benwick, in the coastal town of Lyme, Regis. Captain Benwick is in mourning over the death of his fiancée, Captain Harville's sister Fanny, and he appreciates Annie's sympathy and understanding, helped by their mutual admiration for the romantic poets. At Lyme, Anne attracts the attention of a young man later learn is Mr. William Elliot, her cousin and a wealthy widower who is heir to Clench Hall. He broke ties with her father years earlier and was reported to have spoken to Sir Walter and Elizabeth in very disrespectful terms. On the last morning of the visit, Louisa sustains a serious concussion after jumping from the Cobb sea wall expecting to be caught by Wentworth. He actually first tries to dissuade her from such a big jump, but she is determined she will and jumps a fraction of a second before Wentworth is ready. Anne, however, organizes the others to summon assistance. Wentworth is impressed with Anne's quick thinking and cool-headedness, but feels guilty about his actions concerning Louisa. He now sees that his encouraging her to never allow anyone to persuade her to anything, even jumping from a height, was a serious error, resulting in a serious injury. This causes him to re examine his feelings for Anne. Louisa, due to her delicate condition, is forced to recover at the Harwell's home in Lyme for months. Captain Benwick, who was a guest as well, helps in Louisa's recovery by attending and reading to her. Following Louisa's accident, Anne joins her father and sister in Bath, with Lady Russell also in the city, while Louisa stays at the Harwells in Lyme Regis for her recovery. Captain Wentworth visits his older brother Edward in Shropshire. Anne finds that her father and sister are flattered by the attentions of their cousin William Elliot, thinking that if he marries Elizabeth, the family fortunes will be restored. William flatters Anne and offhandedly mentions that he was fascinated with the name of his future wife already being an Elliot, who would rightfully take over for her late mother, but teasingly refuses to tell her who had talked fondly of her to him in the past. Although Anne wants to like William, the attention and his manners, she finds his character difficult to judge. Admiral Croft and his wife arrive in Bath with the news that Louisa is engaged to Captain Benwick. Wentworth travels to Bath, where his jealousy is piqued by seeing William trying to court Anne. Anne visits Mrs. Smith, an old school friend, who is now a widow living in Bath under strained circumstances and in the early days of recovery from serious illness. From her, Anne discovers that she was the person who spoke fondly of her to a former friend, William Elliot. She reveals that beneath William's charming veneer is a cold, calculating opportunist who led Mrs. Smith's late husband into debt. He had frequently received money from the good-natured but easily imposed upon Mrs. Smith before William's marriage to a very wealthy woman who has since died. But when Mrs. Smith became ill, William made no attempt to aid his friend. Named as the executor to Mr. Smith's will, before the Smiths learned that William was no true friend, William has done nothing to improve Mrs. Smith's situation. She needs someone to act for her in regards to a property of her husband's, which she is too ill to deal with herself and too poor to employ someone to do it for her. She asked William to act for her, but he made it clear that he had no intention of doing anything. Although Mrs. Smith believes that William is genuinely attracted to Anne, she feels that his initial aim was to prevent Mrs. Clay from marrying Sir Walter. Rumours abound in Bath that this is Mrs. Clay's aim, along with astonishment that Elizabeth does not realize this, as a new marriage might mean a son for Sir Walter, displacing William as heir to Clench Hall. The discovery that the young lady he had admired in Lyme is his cousin Anne is a wonderful bonus for William. The Musgroves visit Bath to purchase wedding clothes for Louisa and Henrietta, both soon to marry. Captains Wentworth and Harwell encounter them and Anne at the Musgroves Hotel in Bath, where Wentworth overhears Anne and Harwell discussing the relative faithfulness of men and women in love. Deeply moved by what Anne says about women not giving up their feelings of love even when all hope is lost, Wentworth writes her a note declaring his feelings for her. Outside the hotel, Anne and Wentworth reconcile, affirm their love for each other, and renew the engagement. Lady Russell admits she was wrong about Wentworth and endorses the engagement. William leaves Bath. Mrs. Clay soon follows him and becomes his mistress, making it more likely that he will inherit Clench Hall as the danger of her marrying Sir Walter has passed. Once Anne and Wentworth have married, Wentworth helps Mrs. Smith recover the remaining assets that William had kept from her. Anne settles into her new life as the wife of a Navy captain, and here ends the story. If you have anything more to add on to what I've said, please write it in the comment box, like the video, share it with your friends, and if you have not subscribed my channel, please subscribe and support. Thank you.